our esteemed panelists. First of all, I would like to invite on stage Dimple Parmar, founder and CEO, ZenOncoIO. Dimple, an alumna of IIM Kolkata, is the co-founder and CEO of Love Heals Cancer and ZenOncoIO. She embarked on her mission after losing a loved one to cancer. Her innovative work has earned her accolades such as the top 100 healthcare leader by the International Forum of Advancement in Healthcare. Dimple's diverse expertise includes integrative oncology and entrepreneurship, with a background in strategic roles at Bank of New York Mellon and Reliance Industries. Committed to holistic healing, she champions a life lived fully and inspires others to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Dimple. Joining Dimple on this panel is Supreet Singh, founder and director, Psychocare Health. Supreet is a multiple award-winning entrepreneur with bachelor's in ECE and a diploma in broadcasting and performing arts from Columbia Academy, Vancouver. As a young business leader with more than 10 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry, he's currently heading a team of more than 100 pharmaceutical professionals at Psychocare Health. Before starting his entrepreneurial journey, Supreet has also been a successful broadcaster in Canada. A round of applause for this. And our third panelist for this discussion is Dr. Sheenu, Jhawar, Director, Apex Hospitals, ACE Consulting and President, TiE, Rajasthan. Dr. Sheenu Jhawar leads a chain of 5 multi-speciality hospitals in Rajasthan, an alumna of IIHMR and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She founded ACE Vision, India's pioneering clinical governance consulting firm. With diverse experience, including roles with NHS UK and World Bank projects, she's contributed to scientific discourse at prestigious forums like IIT Kharagpur and Hospital Management Asia. A PhD holder, she champions mental health awareness, aiming to establish its regional chapter in India. Please give it up for Dr. Sheenu Jhawar. Yes, that's like it. And to moderate this conversation on building holistic health and wellness ventures, I would like to invite Ankur Malhotra, the founder director of Triniti, Chandigarh. Triniti is a leading organization working in the education space for the last 20 years. It has a rich and diverse experience of providing training and allied services to corporate schools, colleges, and universities in North India. Evolving with the times, Triniti has diversified its portfolio of services to include organizing and curating literature festivals, TEDx events, NUNs, career fairs, and the Edithon series, a Triniti flagship event. Today, Triniti has its own speakers bureau that has leading Bollywood artists and celebrities and many other successful CEOs and bureaucrats on its panel. Ankur?
Wind up this session in half an hour. After those mind-boggling sessions by Aman Gupta, Ankur Malhotra, we just hope we can do justice to the time given to us. But coming to you, Dimple, since with the mic, before we get into the venture part, there's a lot of confusion between health, fitness, wellness. Broadly, fitness is one thing and wellness and health is another thing. So can you really tell us what exactly you feel the differences in these two terms?
What is my understanding in fitness and health? Health is more about holistic health, which can also include emotional and mental health, spiritual health, and also it's a lifestyle. So do you feel good from whether in terms of the stress or managing the entire lifestyle, work, spiritual health, family, relations, and everything together? One can be really physically fit, going to gym, building muscles, or good BMI and whatnot, but not necessarily that they have a good health, because health is more holistic and it's harmony and rhythm of mind, body and soul together. We see many celebrities and many stars going to gym, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are truly healthy, because we are seeing in today's time that they are equally getting cancer or a stroke and whatnot, because sometimes somewhere the life goes out of balance because of things that not always goes in the right direction. It can be somebody is not in the family, or the stress or financial stress, or the lifestyle that can contributes to bad health. But that can be they can be physically fit. So physical fitness is more about physical strength, endurance, cardiovascular health, while holistic health and wellness is more about body, mind and soul.
Brilliant, spot on, Dimple. And I would just like to ask Supreet if you have to add anything, or is your definition different?
No, actually, she summed up almost the same what I was to say, but the things which I want to add majorly is when we see somebody having a lot of muscles, so we get inspired by that person, and it's good to get inspired. That's aesthetic fitness, what I call. The fitness starts from within. So first of all, we need to look into the spiritual fitness as in, because that keeps your mind calm. Too much of stress and having a great body will release a lot of cortisol, and which is not good, and that creates a lot of problems. So mental health along with spiritual health creates great physical health. I've seen so many people who are obese, but they stay happy and they keep good mental health. They live longer than people who have great muscles, and they die early. So everything goes side by side, and one needs to understand their own body, how it functions, how it works. We cannot, if somebody is doing something else, it doesn't make sense, or it's not necessary that it will work for you as well. So we need to understand and just not copy. So normally what we do is, when we see influencers, we see Bollywood stars, they look good, so they follow the same thing. They don't even, you go to gyms, so even I went to a new gym 2 days ago. They didn't even ask like what my history is. Ye jao, ye machine pe ye kar lo ji, ye kar lo. Then at the end of, I was just observing. I just told him I had this history. He didn't ask me. He was kind of embarrassed, but yeah, that's the reality. It's too much into the mainstream copy-paste kind of fitness regime, the buzzword fitness. But yes, we need to delve into it, and it's a great opportunity for a lot of people who can explore this field of fitness. Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. I think you nailed it, because once you said the word cortisol, which I think really is very important when you measure the stress part of health, And we'll come to that later, but to begin the actual topic, which is building holistic health and wellness ventures. Our topic is not exactly health and wellness, but the venture part of it. And Sheenu, you run this huge hospitals by the name of Apex. You founded it, a promoter, director. So, how can healthcare ventures make a quality healthcare accessible and affordable, given India's vast, economic divide? Or is it only for the rich? Or can you make it accessible?
So thank you very much, and this is a question that gets asked often in almost all healthcare panels and conferences, that you look at quality and then you look at affordability, and of course there's accessibility. So we're all entrepreneurs sitting here, and I'm going to speak from that perspective alone, because there's a social context, there is a wellness context, and there is a pure entrepreneur context to this entire topic. I'd like to say that quality, of course, is very important, because you're dealing with life and death. And when you look at these two pieces of accessibility and affordability, accessibility to a very great extent is being taken care of by digitization of the healthcare service delivery. So I think that piece will delve more on, Ankur, as we go forward in this conversation, because we're all working on the digital aspect of service delivery. We have the telemedicine, for example, that's what we work on. We work on the tele-ICU concept, and Dimple works on the onco model, and you have your own podcast, and you work on a lot of AI. But I'd like to delve a little bit more about on the affordability concept. So, what is really affordability? I think when we look at a product or a service, we are not looking at the price tag. We are looking at whether that price tag for us means value for money. And I'd like to split that into 3 subtopics. The first is whether you place trust in that product or service. And trust today is a very hyper-local concept. So in your community, do you place trust in that product or service within your community? And if it's a large chain, can you actually delve down deeper into tier 3, tier 4 cities who are your consumers and have them trust your product? That is very important. And for them, there is value for money, no questions asked. The second piece is whether there is competitive advantage. Because for example, if you have to get a kidney transplant done, and if there is no other service delivery for it, you will be going to the person or the healthcare organization which provides that service to you. And the third piece is a service excellence part of it. So sometimes in healthcare especially, you do not know what is happening in the back end. You do not have a benchmark to compare. But if the service delivery is good, and that again builds upon the hyperlocal trust, then you would want to believe in that product or service, and the affordability part gets covered within these three pieces. So I think rather than looking at the paying capacity of people alone, because they are not the only payers, you have in healthcare especially, you have empanelments, you have the third party payers, you have the government, etc. What you need to look at is whether the end consumer places that trust in you, you're able to give that service excellence to them, and whether you as an entrepreneur, you have a competitive advantage over the other players in the ecosystem, and that for me spells affordability for the patient.
Just for the sake of the audience, many of them may not be from healthcare. Can you just, 30 seconds explain what is telemedicine?
Right, so we visit a doctor and we like to be seen by the doctor. There is a huge value we place on the touch and the feel of the equipments, the doctor, his voice when he looks at us, the eye contact that is made. But what happened during COVID? Those 2 years taught us that life moves on. And there have to be alternate methods of seeking whatever service we require when there is an acute requirement for a healthcare need. And that is where the telemedicine concept basically took wings in our country. So from any remote location, if you want to access the already shortage occupation of a specialist, what do? You call them. But calling is not sufficient because sometimes the murmur of your heart or your BP needs to be tested. And now we have digitized methods for doing that from this, the room of a specialist to any remote location. And that is the concept of telemedicine. So you have the telephone, which is just for a call, and telemedicine is the entire gamut of medicine being provided on a phone or on a tab or any digital interface.
Yeah. So coming to you, Dimple, what are the challenges that you faced? You run this very famous venture, Eon Ventures, and what are the challenges you faced while building a venture in health and fitness in India with such a diversity of demographics?
Right. When I was building ZenOncoIO, which is an integrating oncology health tech startup, rather than challenges, I would say things that one needs to be very aware or cautious or cognizant when we work in such a sensitive and emotional field as cancer care. And India being a very diverse country, we need to ensure that we have healthcare professionals and our services are multilingual. At the same time, they are very culturally sensitive because patients like Dr. Sheenu said, they are into tier 3, tier 4, and not everybody understands Hindi or English all the time. So we need to ensure that those things are in place and we are able to serve the broader audience, because especially in a disease like cancer, which is life-threatening, it's about life and death, and patients may not always have that much of time to travel to tier 1 city or even resources to even afford that level of facilities in those cities. And secondly, of course, being in healthcare, we need to be cognizant of the regulatory requirements and the certification and licenses required to operate in the space of holistic health and wellness, because yes, there is FDI and there is regulations for medical drugs and to run a hospital clinic setup, but when it comes to wellness, it is slightly tricky. So, for example, we have nutraceutical supplements, medical cannabis, which is a narcotic drug, and then Ayurvedic medicines as well. So, what kind of facile license, food safety security, or the Ayush license, or the narcotic license we need to operate? So, one needs to be very much aware of that. At the same time, having compassion in your care in all the communications is extremely critical, because it's not just in what I talk about my company, it should be across the organizations, in volunteers, in our coaches, in every person who works with us directly or indirectly, because healthcare, like Dr. Sheenu said, it's all about putting trust, and the trust starts with communication. What kind of brand we are building, what is the thesis of it, why we exist, what is that why that we are solving here, and how do we make that communication out there that we are a trustable, patient-centric brand, and then they will get answers to or solution to their queries. So that is equally important. At the same time, will patient be able to afford your services and care? Cancer is anyway very financially burdening disease. So the treatment can vary anything from 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs to 1 crore at times. So how do we ensure that the common man is able to afford that treatment? So these are few factors that we need to consider, and when we build, we keep in mind that cancer is a disease which impacts almost everyone. It doesn't see what socioeconomic strata you come from or what caste or what community. So how do we build a venture that caters to everyone, even the below poverty? Because we started with the NGO model. Love Heals Cancer is our NGO, and at the same time we have this startup which we have to make sustainable. So what kind of pricing and how do we bring all these elements together to be able to, so when we are starting as an entrepreneur, we need to consider that all these things are in place and we are able to work with the ecosystem together to take care of that person and patient holistically, and not just that patient, but at the same time caregiver, because their health is equally important. And in cancer especially we talk about caregivers because they put everything at stake and they dedicate their life to take care of the patient, and it's a very burdening disease, I would say, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There can be cure, there may not be cure. At the same time, how do you ensure the finances and the emotional stress that you go through and the trauma and everything else? So it's important that we work holistically and integrate with the ecosystem, with hospitals, pharma, insurance, all of it together when we are building it.
Very elaborately clarified. Supreet, coming to you, you run a very famous podcast, the Supreet Singh Show. You've done almost 23 interviews on YouTube and it's there on Instagram as well. So you're probably into technology, but the question to you is that given the human-centric nature of healthcare, how has technology been used to expand its reach in healthcare?
I always say that I grew up in the 90s when there was almost no technology, I would say. In 2000s, early 2000s, we saw technology and we saw the world changing, and it was massive. Since last 10 years, I would say, the shift and the drift has been even massive. And what I feel is the world economy, the startup culture, and we even talk about the world becoming one place has happened because of technology, because of digitalization, because of everybody has a phone, a smartphone in their hand. Everyone, almost everyone, I would say nowadays. So connecting has become easy, information has become easy, telemedicine has solved so many problems. So for example, I think if I'm sitting here in Chandigarh and if I want to get telemedicine recommendation from Dr. Sheenu, so one choice is I go there, the second choice is I opt for telemedicine, and it can be anywhere. So adaptation is the most important thing. One thing is we can criticize technology and not adapt to it. There's no point in doing that. Technology has its do's and don'ts, good part and bad part. But what I feel is the good part is much bigger. And personally, I've been able to do a lot of great things in my business because of technology. If digital marketing, SEO, and all these systems were not there, I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done so far.
So I'd like to just, beyond the questions that we have here, just all three of you, anybody can answer that. The idea is that in this age of AI and technology and everything is AI, when people are saying AI se pata nahi kya kya ho jayega, the point is, can you replace the look and feel of a caregiver like a nurse in a hospital? Since both of you are running hospitals and you're running a pharmaceutical company, this whole AI thing, there are some things which are still going to remain the same, like it happened in the year 2000, जब ये IT bubble आया था. Any one of you can answer this question.
Yes, sure. I just want to add one thing before passing on the mic. Technology, we should use the technology should use us. So this is how I understand.
Then I'll add after Dimple. very interesting question, I'd say, because in our communication with patients, and it's a very high-tech and high-touch model that we have developed, because it's important that what we build has to be scalable at the same time, because we have touched only 1 lakh plus cancer patient lives, and there are 60 lakhs cancer patients in India if we talk. At the same time, the journey is very personalized. So like we talk about holistic health and wellness, if we look at a person, there's lot many factors behind the disease and lot many factors that will be responsible or that will help in healing that person. So how do we personalize at that level based on the genetic mutations, their lifestyle, their treatment type, their comorbidities, and there can be 10 more parameters that defines what is your case profile. So it's very important that we leverage technology and AI in such a manner that today we are able to automate personalized diet plans for patients. When we talk about OncoNutrition, which is anti-cancer diet program, how do we ensure that we are able to provide this at a genomic level and the gut microbiome level of the patient, so that they get the actual benefit of the nutrition or the diet that helps in their healing, and at the same time we are able to do this for million others who are in different geographies of this world. So it's not just the different languages and the demographics that we have in India, but also beyond. So that way technology has been really helping us in reaching out to patients, and also at the same time able to answer their queries, their questions, and any single problem that they have point in time. Because such chronic illness like cancer, you need answer then and there, and then that can play a great role. Important thing to note that we train AI well in that, because otherwise it can go in any other direction that we don't want it to be. So the training and the learning is extremely important. At the same time, the human touch, the compassion that we as a human being bring in the wellness space, that is irreplaceable. Definitely that's needed, but at the same time technology play a very great role in reaching out to more people and giving them solution point in time. Thank you.
Sheenu, you want to add something?
Yes, please. Anybody, any 3 things that you can think of which a nurse does in the hospital? Why do we have a nurse in the hospital? I mean, kabhi na kabhi, yes.
You give the humane face to the treatment, so it's like reassuring for the patient also.
Does that treat the patient?
Yes, it does.
Does that treat the patient? That's an add-on. Any 3 fundamental, so anybody can do that, right? You do not need a person who's skilled and trained in 4 years of nursing to do that. Any 3 things, any 2 things?
Like the right medicine.
So, takes the BP for example, yeah, monitors your vitals, and the second is gives the medicine.
Right treatment.
At least these 2 things, we can clearly say all of us, doesn't require rocket science. Now, do we require a person who's been trained for 4 years and who's out there to take the vitals? Wearable devices is the answer. Fact-driven, calibrated. The other thing is giving the medicine. So in a hospital we know, we first prescribe the medicine, which is fine, and then the nurse has to indent the medicine, bring the medicine to the patient bedside, and then the nurse needs to be reminded that she gives the medicine to the patient. Sometimes the patient is sleeping, sometimes the patient does not want the medicine, and then she has to document it. So there's a whole lot of fab that's built around the system, and Dr. Richard is here, and a lot of other people, if they are from the healthcare sector, will agree. Now what if there were patches which could release the medicine at the right time, directly within the muscular or the venous system within the body? It could be done, right? So, for example, these 2 basic things, Ankur, when we are talking about whether digitization or technology or AI could feature, so these are 2 things. The third is, and I'll just wrap up with this one, some banks actually know when a patient comes, when a person comes to take a loan, they can actually work out in which month and whether this person is going to default on their loan. Because that's a power of the AI and the algorithms which they have. But this is happening, right? So the kind of data that is being captured, and if it is with the intent is right, the algorithms are right, then we could actually, instead of the patient coming with a symptom in the triage and we working out whether the patient requires a care or not, or whether it's a false alarm, what if even before the symptoms we would know that this patient is facing this difficulty and the point of care could be given? I mean, the way healthcare can be revolutionized, and this is for all entrepreneurs amongst us, the possibilities are absolutely amazing, and not just for entrepreneurs, but they're not here to make money only.
We are all crazy people, we're trying to solve a problem, we look at the future, we look at the adaptation of the technology and we build the technology, but imagine what it could mean for the people, for the masses. So, tremendous positive impact, I'd say.
So, after all this, some of the technical questions, a very simple thing, which people here would like to know, Supreet, since you are into inner well-being and wellness yourself, and you also do this famous podcast as we just mentioned. So, could you share some ways, through which people can include wellness in their daily routine and move towards a healthier lifestyle? I mean, we all know many of the things, but something which is very simple and which people can include in their daily routine, which will make them more healthier, basically.
The simplest thing which I find is, which we don't do at all, just talk about it in the family, over the dinner table, maybe while we are just, even on a holiday, we should talk about it, because health is wealth. We have been taught, but we don't talk about it. Anyway, even with friends, we never talk about it. The first thing is, we need to start talking about it and accept the fact that all of us somehow are in some distress. We are not fully comfortable. So when we start talking about it, then we'll move towards preventive health. Right now, we are not talking about preventive health. And it's not a problem only in India, it's across the world. A few days ago, I interviewed somebody. We talked about positive food. I never talked about it before that. I never knew about that. The time from where the food is prepared to the time it is served, the energy it carries, it goes in your mind, in your body. So that food becomes you. From there, the process starts. So food is also a serious business, and it's part of, I would say, health tech or healthcare.
This is something which probably we did not mention here. That food is one of the most basic things, and we definitely overlook food. We lay a lot of stress कि हम मेहनत करके जाएंगे, जिम में जाएंगे, ये करेंगे, yoga. Food is something which is very basic, which we can do and which we can slightly alter. And probably go towards positive foods. There are negative karmic foods and positive karmic foods. As many people know. So we don't want to go into the details, but there are. So those kind of positive foods. And I think so, yeah, very well answered. And coming to you, Dr. Sheenu, again, what are the emerging trends in the healthcare industry that you think will have a significant impact from now onwards?
So one, of course, is digitization and AI. And the two more things which I think are going to change things a lot. I would completely agree with you, Supreet. The education of the people is very important, because right now we seek care when we are ill. And that actually puts a huge burden, if you look at it from that side, it puts a huge burden on healthcare infrastructure, requirement of specialists, and cost. If you were educated enough to go for regular checkups, for example, cervical cancer is one of the biggest killers, but how many women, even within our community, go for a pap smear test after the age of 30 regularly? So the cost of the care, the requirement of the oncologists, and so many things would go drastically down if we were educated enough to seek care proactively, preventive care. And the third point, so digitization, AI, education. And the third is incorporation of mental health, even when a patient comes in for a physical health treatment. Because we are completely forgetting that, because even data proves that. If we are mentally well, then our physical wellness also is faster and it's much better. And in terms of the mortality, morbidity statistics, there are far more deaths happening in the cohort of people who are mentally ill as compared to the other cohort. The same problem can shorten the lifespan. So these are some things which I think we need to work upon, and there's a huge gap which I think needs to be fulfilled.
Thank you, Sheenu. And now before Nihalik, I will like.
There are basic 7 practices that we all can adopt one by one, and I love this quote which I always say: pick it but stick to it. Even if it's a small change, but having that discipline in that change is extremely important, because motivation can be up and down, but discipline has to be continuous. So eating well, moving more, sleeping well, managing your stress, creating a very healing environment, sharing love and support, and lastly, finding purpose of this life. So this habit, smaller habits can actually make a meaningful change in your life.
आज रात को मैदा तो कम खाएंगे लोग.
Any questions from the audience?
Myself a mental health coach, so I want to ask that isn't it somewhere our own fault that when we are judging somebody as a society, every one of us, when we look at a person, whether he or she is successful or not, isn't it the bank balance, the car they drive, the bungalow they live in, or probably the northern sectors of Chandigarh, isn't that the criteria for all of us to judge somebody for being successful rather than probably their mental health or their intelligence or their commitment to fitness, mental as well as, of course, physical. So how can, as a society, we have experts here, all four of you, how can as a society we change that criteria that people instead of working at that breakneck speed also think of investing some time on mental health, probably yoga or things like that. Supreet, I want you to answer.
Okay, so what I personally feel is mental health, as we are discussing. I am a lot fascinated with mental health. This organ is talked about the least, this brain, and it drives the entire body. Brain dead, everything dead. If anybody is distressed, and it's everywhere, even in your friend, so that taboo, we are still not able to. This is just an organ, like you have your stomachs. If you have stomach ache, you will take medicine for that, right? So if you have some problem over here, you need to consult. And consultation is a normal thing to do. As you go to any gastroenterologist or a physician. So first the acceptance has to be there. The acceptance is missing. We are still finding it as a taboo. And I personally feel a lot of distress, a lot of problems around us will reduce if we just start talking about things and start accepting the things as a family, as a society. And it's a collective effort. Only 2 or 3 people or 10, 15 or 1,000 people cannot do it. It's everybody's duty. And yeah, this is what I feel.
That's why you started a podcast on positivity.
Yes.
I'll just add my 2 cents here. When we, like you mentioned, like when we start comparing things, rather than changing the society, we need to change ourselves first. It's all here that you are comparing yourself with others, and one should always be grateful and feel gratitude for what they have. So if say, I am comparing that, okay, XYZ person, I need to work on myself, not on society, not on community, not on everything else. I need to first be mindful and peaceful with myself that why am I comparing? I'm very grateful to XYZ things for whatever I have today. So, because there is no end to greed. Today we'll compare with North Chandigarh, tomorrow we'll compare with somebody else and then somebody else. So, living in the present moment, be thankful to what is there already and working on self, and starts with mindfulness. Even the 5 minutes meditation practice really helps us a lot, being in the present moment and be happy with what we have.
Can you give some insight on advanced AI tool for testing genomes?
Genomics?
Yeah, genomics.
So,
pharmaceutical industry?
So, wonderful. I actually missed that point. Genomics is a very, very important emerging trend. And I think the face of the hospital is going to completely change. They will not stay the way they are today. Because we'll be working right at the grassroots level, which is the DNA level, the molecular biology of it. And I've done my master's in molecular biology, by the way. So your question is the trend, right?
Trend, and what are the advanced tools for testing those?
So I would not be able to comment on the advanced tools. That's really, no, I'm not an expert in that. As an entrepreneur or as a hospital owner or as a business person, I think that I would like to invest in that because that is the future.
Okay. Yeah. And one more question for Dr. Shrika. Dr. Supreet, Dimple, sir. It is about personalized nutrition. So can you give some insight on personalized nutrition, like which I presume what the future is? if we adopt the 3D printing of encapsulation, so that will work wonder for the personalized nutrition. And apart from that, any other?
Right. For me, the definition of personalized nutrition, food, supplements, nutraceuticals is all about giving or prescribing to that person, knowing their conditions. So a condition can also, when I talk to patient, how do they decide which therapy they want to go for? Accessibility, affordability, and belief system is the framework that patient use for themselves. As a doctor, when we talk to patients about personalized nutrition, it's more about what comorbidities you have, what other illnesses that they have, or what are their genetic mutations, what treatment they are on currently, what are the side effects that they have, will they be able to take it for a long period of time, knowing their blood parameters, and lot many goes behind personalizing nutrition at the gut microbiome level also. There's something called functional medicine. Functional medicine is a big part of it, where we go deeper into that personal microbiology, microbiome, gut bacteria, and then devising this entire plan around it.
In fact, there will be personalized medicine also. There won't be one capsule or one dose for everybody. It will be the dosage, the molecule, the structure. It will be all personalized.
We will have a lot of such conversations in the dinner also. But at the same time, we have one last question if anybody wants to ask. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, ma'am, my question is with Dr. Sheenu. Do you really think that these robotic surgeries, which is getting popular these days, AI technology, everything is going to replace the doctors in future?
These things are tools for extending the work that you do. Also, when the stethoscope came, kya doctor ka kaam khatam ho gaya? You know, that's how you have to look. So today's stethoscope seems a very, very normal thing. But when it came, the doctor was not replaced. The doctor's diagnosis was enhanced. So the surgery becomes better with a precise surgical instrument now that they have, their little toy to play with. So this is not going to replace the doctors, number one. Number two, unfortunately, fortunately, there are very less doctors and specialists compared to the requirement of the growing population, number one. Growing diseases, number two. So these two things are combined, and therefore there is a huge opportunity for such kind of tools to come in. So nobody is going to lose a job.
The robotic surgery is being done by the doctor himself.
Exactly.
It's not a computer who's doing
Yes,
the
yes, yeah. Thank you so much. I knew we needed to have a special insight from a doctor. Thank you so much.
An episode with Dr. Jitendra Singh, is the director of Orthopedics Max, the Supreet show on YouTube. You'll get some answer through that. We have talked about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I please invite Supreet next?
He's a great friend and mentor.
Yes, please, we can. Okay, thank you.
Next, Dr. Sheenu.
And your name, show it.
Yes.
Right.
No, what if you don't give it to me?
Yes, please, okay. Thank you.
And thank you for moderating this.
Go up for security. Yes, please. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. That was a very interesting, rarely heard in India.
Excuse me.
No.
Okay, yes, please. Wait. Again. Thank you.
Thank you.